if you do your job, then I'm quite sure actions will be taken. But my last comment, I do not agree with giving you prosecutorial powers. There must be separation of powers. That's why we wanted the police to investigate, the DPP to prosecute. So you must continue to investigate, let another arm prosecute.
Quickly, please respond.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll try to respond to some. I may invite my colleagues to respond to the others. What has IPOA done within its mandate? Honorable Wandai, Chair, you raised this question, what has IPOA done within its mandate, whether we've been able to hold police to account, and what have we done in terms of command responsibility. I would say that IPOA has done a lot. Probably one of our deficiencies is not going too much to the media. But in terms of accountability, we've done a lot. We've done many recommendations. We've completed record investigations within the time of our lifespan as the board that is continuing. And indeed, we find ourselves between a rock and a hard place. Here we are being told we haven't done enough. You talk to the police officers, they don't want to see us. They say we are the worst team that ever came into being. We've increased the number of files that are with the DPP. We found about 60 files in courts. We've moved that number to 170. We have over 380 files lying at the DPP. And in total, we've forwarded over 500 files to the DPP. So a lot has been done. We've engaged DPP to try and see how that process can move faster. And at one point during the former DPP, he established a human rights desk to help review those files. And there are 2 points to it. One could be those that we have recommended prosecution so that they make progress, and could be those that are pending and the officers need to be exonerated and the cases are still pending. So it cuts both ways. When these files are not attended quickly, there are those officers who are suffering, their files are still pending. And also there are those Kenyans whose files need to be prosecuted and the files are pending. It's work in progress. There are many reasons that have been given for this, including the fact that DPP, of course, receives files from many people, and those files are handed against the capacity that that office has. In terms of command responsibility, we've tried. We have Baby Pendo case, which was initially done of it was that command responsibility again. Our recommendation is that there are responsibility in certain matters. Baby Pendo is a good case. There is a case without further consultation to us. Recommend responsibility. Again, that to us in terms of oversight. So when cases are withdrawn, the law allows them to do that. There is nothing much we can do. But in terms of IPOA position, there are instances where there is need for command responsibility. In terms of the next question that the chairman asked was deaths and injuries arising out of the demonstrations. The report that we shall be submitting has that data. In summary, we received 237 complaints involving 359 complainants. That is the period.
You say the report you're submitting now or when?
No.
The report you shall be submitting has got that data.
Yes, the one that you have directed that we sent through the email.
Okay.
Has that data.
And is it for election or post-election period?
CEO will be speaking into that, but it's also available. That data is also available. In terms of demonstrations, we received 237 during this period between Sabasaba and the time there was ceasefire when this team was established. We received 237 complaints involving 359 complainants. Deaths that we received as IPOA are 57 that are under active investigation. Some of them are the tail end of conclusion.
Yes, that you received deaths.
Deaths that we have captured. Deaths, V4.
No.
Nairobi 20.
Come again?
They are all under investigation, but Kisumu we had 33, Nakuru 2, Nairobi 20, Kakamega 2. Injuries were a number of them, and all that data is in this report that we shall be submitting to the committee.
That it constrains you
Yes.
from undertaking private prosecution.
Yes.
Explicitly.
We cannot do private because you're government. We are a government entity.
What law?
IPOA Act.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. Is it explicit in the act that you can't undertake private prosecution? And if you juxtapose that with the provisions of Article 157, let's help us understand. Yeah.
I'll share. IPOA can do private prosecutions. What we are saying is that when we do our investigations and need to give recommendations to the ODPP, we have to wait until the ODPP now either agrees with our recommendations or returns the file to us to ask us to add on the evidence that he thinks perhaps does not meet the threshold. And during that process, because sometimes we finish our investigations very quickly, most of the investigations are over. But as you have heard from the figures, the files that are pending before the ODPP are too many. And we continue doing our investigations and forwarding our recommendations there. That's why we were asking for prosecutorial powers.
So, Waiganjo,
yes,
some of those files can stay there forever.
Yes.
In theory.
Sometimes in theory, they will stay there forever. Sometimes when they go to court, they'll be withdrawn without reference to the independent policing.
Can you do us a favor, Wiganjo? Can you give us an analysis of the files that you have taken to the DPP,
certainly,
those that have been prosecuted and those that are still pending?
That will be done right away, Chair. We have our CEO here who is in charge of the Secretariat, and we will give out those figures. But on to the matter that was also brought forth on the extrajudicial killings, we would also want this committee to take extrajudicial killings in law now legislatively from Manda. Yeah, Manda extrajudicial killing. We want a demarcation in law because we talk about extrajudicial killings and there is also Manda. So we want a clarity in that, and that can only be found in law. And then on abductions, we want a clear reference between abduction and enforced disappearance, because the law is broad. We do not have a clear-cut law. When you say, because you cannot, sometimes there's an abduction and then you reappear. So you had disappeared, but you have appeared. So we are not clear on when are you abducted or when there is an enforced disappearance. The president also assured us that we would be carrying out an inquest, an inquiry on enforced disappearance and extrajudicial killings. So we want that to come forth so that the citizens can come and give their stories, because the files are many with post-mortem reports. We have a challenge of witnesses coming to us because also the witness protection program does not have sufficient budget to cover our witnesses. We have lost witnesses clearly when we have good cases. So those are some of the challenges we have, and I want to leave it now so that you can get the actual figures from our CEO.
Talake, you're the CEO unless otherwise.
I don't want to repeat what has already been spoken to, but probably just to clarify on the issue of the command responsibility. Court. Actually, Baby Pendo case is a case in court where 12 senior police officers from county commanders are now in court. And that is by way of us taking the responsibility higher, beyond the constables on the ground. So this is a live matter which is currently in court, and we will be able to see the progression of that case in court. I don't know, Chair, you may wish to speak to the IT question. I'll leave that to the Chair. On the issue of extrajudicial killings, we have, of course, what has been explained by Honorable Waiganjo, but beyond that, as an authority, we have clarity on what we are doing. The cases we are able to investigate where it has been determined through investigations that we are able to identify the people responsible in those enforced disappearance or in extrajudicial killing have been taken through investigations. However, where we are not able to determine directly the police involvement, the commission or the authority has decided that it will undertake public inquiry, which will be able to, to determine exactly the circumstances and also determine accountability. So I think that is all I would want to clarify.
When you are still on the floor,
yes.
What about the other, you see, when you stretch your imagination in terms of the electoral injustices?
Yes.
There were complaints here by officers who were assaulted, murdered, etc., etc.
Yes.
There's been little police. Please also and the commission itself on part of the abductions, murder, assault, and other vestiges against the law. Secondly, I remember there are these men who are working in the KK Secretariat.
Okay, maybe picking up on the last one about the Indians. I think this, which is of course in court, and between IPOA and the DCI, we were able to make a presentation, and I think I would rather ask the head of legal to speak to that matter with clarity.
Yes, thank you. As the CEO has stated that the matter is currently in court, the matter is being handled by, of course, IPOA and also the Internal Affairs Unit of the National Police Service is dealing with that investigation, and the matter is currently in court.
On the issue of IBC, yes, there are reports, of course, cases we are handling where IBC officers were assaulted, allegedly by police. A case we are handling is the case of the IBC officer in Wajir, and we have made a very advanced investigation on this, and these are matters which are basically towards conclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. On the issue of partisan approach and the IG banning demonstrations, I'll ask the Vice Chair to speak into that. Then Commissioner Mudaura can speak into the issue of Haiti.
Let's try to now wind up. Yes, within the next 5 minutes.
True. If you look at the statistics by POA, about 99% of the police are doing a good job, but 1% has some issues. And sometimes when one person becomes rogue or one person makes a statement, it's not a general statement for all the police. Of course, somebody may be in a command position to put himself or a statement in that case. But from the IPOA point of view, we have looked at this, and yes, you have seen that police are doing a good job many times. It is very clear with the IPOA statement today that we have no compromise at all. We may look like we are crying here and there, but statistically, if you look at this document later, you will realize that no police officer is above any action from IPOA. And we have summoned even people in very high ranks. So bipartisan, yes, because of course you can see some elements here and there. But generally, the police are doing a good job. The other question on the statement of the IG, of course, people have the right to say what they want to when they get the podium. And interestingly, chairs, we have asked the IG why he made that statement. And as he denied other statements he made before, he also denied that he did not make reference to IPOA during the busybody statement. However, he made it, and we are cautious. We are cautious about the engagement and what we need to do in official and formal way. On the question of hired bodies, that was strange. It was very strange. And members, individuals have ways of saying what they want to. IPOA, as given by these figures, is very clear. We go to witness in the crime scene area. We go and attend the post-mortem. Post-mortem reports are with us in all general reports. And I think that should not be a substantive issue to discuss for now. Thank you, Chair.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you say is strange? What do you mean exactly?
I mean, when he makes those statements,
yes,
those statements must be factual and supported by figures, right? But you know, a blanket statement
But that is if he's being professional.
Yeah.
That is if he's being professional.
Can Doreen please answer the last set of questions?
Just before she answers, just the issue of two-thirds general rule is something that we always talk about, something we have also raised with the National Committee in Parliament to ensure that in terms of recruitment, they increase the number of women, because they do in such a way that women are not, even in the entry level, they are not given equal opportunity. So that's something we have picked up, even at the top level. In fact, there used to be Madam Kaindi, and once she was removed, there was no more representation there. So it's something that we really want the parliamentarians to pick it up themselves and ensure that that thing happens, that we get top leadership of women. Thank you.
Okay, Doreen.
Thank you, sir. On that,
Make it brief.
Absolutely. On just a quick one to add on to what Commissioner Fatma has said, and this is a question by Honorable Bilenga, that what have we done to ensure at least matters of female gender are considered in the service? We are involved. We conducted the first ever Women in Policing conference in the country, and we are pleased to inform you that it was very successful. And we are also supporting the establishment of Association of Female Police Officers in the service so that they're able to advance their own concerns within the service and associations as recognized under Section 87 of NPSA. Now, on the issue of Haiti, we have also learnt of the same from the media, and we have not been officially engaged on the same, but this is an appreciation that the Act, the NPSA, that is the National Police Service Act, provides for, or rather allows the Inspector General or the service generally to partner regionally and internationally with other services in matters of policing. Now, how the same is regulated, remember this is, once they leave the country, it's under international law. Remember, our scope is territorial. We are only able to deal with our officers while within our territorial space and when under the command of the Inspector General. That said, we are very concerned about the welfare of our officers as they engage or live for Haiti, and most importantly, training for them to be able to carry out the duties they are required to do while there. Now, one other issue on our act is that we can investigate officers during and even when they've left the service. So whatever the circumstances, we believe that if allowed under the various instruments that have been entered into, probably through our fast, and like KDF, where we've had this kind of processes, IPOA, in this instance, we are going to explore approaches on how to deal with the same. Sorry, sir, quick one on the issue of legislative intervention to allow the authority to proceed or carry out its duty. Truth is, if we don't have oversight, then in the service, NPS, or even those other services, we have seen what has happened, for example, in Marsabit, in Wajir, with the KWS and so on. We request that entrench oversight for all those entities. The police feel targeted whenever they're involved even in a multi-agency approach or exercise of policing nature. It's only the police that are investigated. The other agencies are dealt with internally and mostly not in a very open manner. We request that we have existed from 2011 to date without regulations. Therefore, we're requesting that the regulations that are currently before the House, tabled before the Committee on Delegated Legislation, please be fast-tracked to enable us have a legal framework that is self-executing. The other issue, sir, is about compliance of the Act as it exists. That's a big challenge for us, and it's legislative in nature. We don't know to what extent we are supposed to be suing the various commanders to notify us of deaths that occur within or during police operation. This is an area we would want clarity on what IPOA ought to do or what action need to be taken by commanders who do not notify the authority within the 24-hour rule. Then, of course, give us teeth to bite. I know Honorable Hassan has indicated that we shouldn't be given prosecutorial power. Truth be told is that the more people review the files, the more the delay and justice is actually, both for the police officer and for the people of Kenya, is delayed and therefore not served as it ought to be. Other challenges, sir, is that we are a young entity, rather, with a number of staff that is currently 260, and we have an approved establishment of nearly 3,000. We are requesting for funding to allow us to be able to spread ourselves throughout the Republic and, most importantly, serve in all Huduma centers. It is almost impossible to even explain to people what we do since we are not visible. We are requesting for funding to allow us for a planned expansion and so on. And we also request that through this dialogue, this National Dialogue Committee, kindly uptake of our recommendations. All these matters, we have 26 reports submitted to the NPS, submitted to the Cabinet Secretary and Parliament, both houses, and we request, including to all the 47 county assemblies, we are required by law to submit the reports. But uptake of our recommendations is a big challenge, and we don't know how many or how much should we seek court intervention to ensure enforcement? From the oversight point of view and legislative point of view, Parliament help us deal with this matter. Thank you, sir.
Mwesh, make it very brief, because Mwesh, make it very brief. I like, this subject is important for this committee, but make it very brief.
Thank you very much, Chair. Indeed, I want to say that let the committee not be worried that the IG, the Inspector General of Police, would make that kind of a statement and get away with it. I think it's important for the committee to know that we do have pending complaints against the IG himself. But I want the good doctor here to make a conclusion so that on the issue, on the same issue of hired bodies.
Thank you. Chairman, I want to say that when the IG makes a statement that bodies have been bought and transferred, we as IPOA, we just counter it with facts. And the fact of the matter is, I want to tell you from the forensic angle, a policeman who does not want to kill does not shoot above the waist. You shoot below the waist to immobilize. When we get pathology reports and we are capable of telling whether this was long range, short range shooting by the entry and exit of the bullet, or if the bullet is lodged within. And therefore, the reports that we have got those facts. When we analysis of the weapon that was used, then we sometimes encounter bottlenecks because this laboratory is under the control of the DCI. The DCI, to me, and I want you legislators, is part of the NPS. He is under the command of the IG, and he cannot be independent. He denies, or they alter the evidence because they have to give us the report of the weapon used. They say, as per our analysis, these weapons were not in the possession of the police as at the time of the action. That is one thing we encounter. Secondly, I want to say, do our police suffer from frustration? Are they in the wrong profession? Or because of the amount of misplaced aggression that we see? I want to say that the police commanders have told us that when they go for recruitment, some of the people they recruit to Kiganjo College is forced on them by powers from elsewhere. And they are wondering whether the product they are training for 9 months in Kiganjo are actually coming out to be policemen and women, or people whose relatives and friends bought their way into the police training. I want to say this because we have seen incidents where police with their batons, and the case of the 2 brothers in Luanda, whom you buried, the post-mortem was explicit, saying they actually died of rungus, not even a gun. Why would a professional police officer continue to inflict injury to somebody whom they have already subdued, instead of either arresting the person and putting in the lorry and go and process the crime? Is it frustration inwardly? Is it because they think that they lord it over the population of the populace? We have got those issues. So I want to answer that statement of the IG that we will counter it with the facts. The only thing is that he may use his professional influence to deny us the ballistic and forensic reports from the forensic lab. And we must say that we have made a proposal that this forensic laboratory should be given autonomy away from the DCI. That's a proposal we have made, so that it does its job not only for the police. There are very many other organizations that would want to use that laboratory, including even the national government chemist, including the national public health laboratories. There are certain things that they will need to have analyzed there. We have got other institutions that would use that lab. So domiciling it strictly under the IG also hampers our work, because the DCI are part and parcel of the police. But we get the facts from that.
Thank you, Dr. Final word. I think I'll let the chair have the final word. Please, just no, Eugene, just let the chair.
No, there's a question they have not answered.
Yeah, just let the chair have a final word, and
yes,
then if it is unanswered, we will ask again.
Chair, while you're concluding,
can you please, Eugene, let the chair just say something?
Yes, as she concludes, there's one question you have not answered about, the abuse of human rights and the special support unit embedded in the police that has been responsible for some of these atrocious
you've asked the question. Let her answer, please.
Can you respond to that?
Chairman, could I seek for your indulgence to allow a question you raised on democratization of policing to be answered by Commissioner Torrey very shortly, please? Because that came from the chair.
Okay.
1 minute, please.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. You did raise the issue of securitization of security to democratization of security. And that mandate police out for human rights abuses and compliance, and we make our recommendations to the IG on what needs to be done, but also work with the officer in charge of the station, what to improve. Currently, as a result of our recommendation, we have standards that will be maintained, and thereafter we make our recommendations. Democratization. While carrying out our inspections, Chair, we also look out to see whether police stations have actually set up or established community policing committees. And what we have found is that a number of police stations have not come up with community policing committees, which involves membership of members of the public. So we want to pray that perhaps that's something you can pick up. We have made our recommendations to the IG to ensure that each police station and OCA complies with requirements. There is also establishing county policing with policing authorities. Chairman, this is supposed to be established by governors. These again, very, very few governors have established. Here is that the county commission is supposed to be members of this county policing authorities, and there's a conflict because the county security Chairman, to the